Have you ever sat in a meeting with something brilliant to say, but the words stayed trapped in your throat like prisoners behind bars? Maybe you've promised yourself 100 times that next time you'll speak up, contribute your ideas, show them what you're really capable of. But when the moment comes, your heart races, your palms sweat, and you stay silent while someone else says exactly what you were thinking. What if I told you that one woman's 90-day journey from invisible to influential could show you the exact system to break free from that prison? Stay until the end, because what happens on day 27 will prove that courage is not something you're born with. It's something you build. In the glass towers of downtown Chicago, there worked a 29-year-old marketing analyst named Rebecca Chen, who had become a master at making herself disappear. Every morning at 8:30 sharp, she walked into her office on the 14th floor, carrying a coffee she barely tasted and ideas she would never share. Her desk faced a window overlooking the city, and sometimes she would stare out at the buildings and wonder if anyone else felt this invisible. Rebecca was brilliant at her job. Her reports were detailed and insightful. Her data analysis always revealed patterns others missed. Her written work impressed everyone. But in meetings, especially the weekly strategy sessions with her team of 12, she became someone else entirely, someone small and silent and forgettable. She would arrive early to these meetings, choosing a seat in the corner, positioning herself where she could observe without being noticed or called upon. Her manager David would ask for input, and Rebecca's colleagues would jump in with ideas, some good, some half-formed, but all of them spoken out loud. Rebecca would feel her idea forming clearly in her mind, perfect and complete, better than what was being said. But her throat would tighten like a fist. Her heart would pound so hard she was certain everyone could hear it. Her face would flush hot. Her hands would grip her pen until her knuckles turned white. The moment would pass, someone else would speak, and Rebecca would add another tally to her internal count of missed opportunities and swallowed words. By the time she walked back to her desk, she would feel a familiar shame settling over her shoulders, like a heavy coat she couldn't take off. Her best friend Maria, who worked in the same building but a different department, noticed the pattern and the pain it was causing Rebecca's spirit and career. Over lunch one Tuesday, Maria finally said what had been building for months, her voice gentle but direct, cutting through Rebecca's carefully constructed explanations and excuses. "Rebecca, you're one of the smartest people I know, but nobody at your company knows it because you won't let them hear your voice." Rebecca stared at her salad, moving the lettuce around with her fork, feeling the truth of those words land like stones in her stomach. "I know," she whispered, her voice barely audible even in the quiet corner of the cafeteria where they sat. "I just can't seem to make myself do it." Maria reached across the table and squeezed her hand, frustration and love mixing in her eyes, wanting desperately to shake her friend awake from this self-imposed silence. "How many promotions have you watched go to people who talk more, but know less?" Maria asked. "How long are you going to let fear steal your future?" Rebecca had no answer, because she had stopped counting the promotions, the credit given to others for ideas she'd shared in emails, the raises that never came. That night, Rebecca lay awake in her small apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every meeting where she'd chosen safety over courage, silence over contribution. She thought about her parents who had immigrated from Taiwan with nothing, who had worked brutal hours so she could get an education and opportunities they never had. What would they think if they knew their daughter, who they'd sacrificed everything for, was hiding in the corner of conference rooms, too afraid to speak? The shame was no longer just uncomfortable, it was unbearable. And Rebecca realized with sudden clarity that she couldn't live like this for another year, another month, another week. 2 weeks later, Rebecca's company announced a major restructuring, and her department would be consolidated, meaning half the team would lose their jobs by the end of the quarter. Her manager called a meeting to discuss how everyone could demonstrate their value, contribute visibly to upcoming projects, and prove they deserved to stay on the team. Rebecca sat in that meeting feeling ice water spreading through her veins, understanding with terrible certainty that her silence had become a professional death sentence, not just a personal weakness. After the meeting, she walked to the building's lobby bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and let the panic and fear wash over her in waves. When she finally emerged, splashing cold water on her face and staring at her reflection in the mirror, she saw someone who had run out of time. That evening, Rebecca did something she never did. She stayed late at a coffee shop near her office, unable to face going home to sit alone with her failure. At a corner table, she noticed an older woman in her 60s, dressed in a sharp business suit, working on a laptop with the focused energy of someone who loved what they did. The woman looked up, caught Rebecca staring, and smiled, with the kind of warmth that made Rebecca feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in months, or maybe years. "Are you okay?" the woman asked, "because you have the look of someone fighting a battle nobody else can see. And I recognize it, because I've been there." Rebecca felt tears spring to her eyes, surprised by the directness and the kindness, and before she could stop herself, the whole story came pouring out in a rush. The woman listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, her eyes filled with understanding that came from lived experience, not pity or judgment or empty platitudes about confidence. When Rebecca finished, the woman introduced herself as Dr. Patricia Morrison, a former corporate executive who now coached professionals through exactly the kind of paralysis Rebecca was experiencing. 20 years ago, Patricia said, I was you, sitting in meetings with brilliant ideas and a voice that wouldn't work when it mattered most, watching opportunities slip away. What changed? Rebecca asked, her voice raw with desperation. Because I've tried affirmations, I've read books, I've told myself to just do it, but nothing works. Patricia pulled out a small leather journal from her bag, worn and filled with handwritten entries that looked like years of documentation, evidence of a practice that had changed her life. I stopped trying to eliminate the fear, she said, and started doing the thing I was afraid of every single day until fear became boring instead of paralyzing. I call it the Daily Discomfort Practice, and it's simple but not easy. You do one thing each day that scares you. Something small but real. Not bungee jumping or dramatic gestures, but micro acts of courage in your actual life. Speaking up once, asking a question, sharing an opinion, making yourself visible in tiny increments. Patricia explained the system with the clarity of someone who had refined it through years of practice and had seen it transform not just herself, but dozens of others. Every single morning before you start work, you choose your discomfort for the day. One specific action that will make you uncomfortable, but won't destroy you. It must meet 3 criteria, she said, holding up 3 fingers. It must scare you. It must be achievable within 24 hours. And it must involve human interaction. You write it down in the morning. You do it before the day ends, and you record how it felt afterward. The fear before, the reality during, the relief after. The first week, your discomforts will be tiny, asking a coworker about their weekend, complimenting someone's idea in a meeting, making eye contact when you speak to your manager. Week 2 and 3, you increase the stakes slightly, asking a question in a meeting, sharing one sentence of opinion, volunteering for a small, visible task nobody else wants. Week 4 through 12, you keep pushing the edge of your comfort zone, each day stretching it a little further, until speaking up becomes normal instead of terrifying. Patricia looked at Rebecca with eyes that had seen this transformation happen before, in herself and in others, and knew the difference between those who committed and those who quit. 90 days, she said firmly, 90 consecutive days of choosing discomfort, and you will become a different person, not magically confident, but genuinely capable of speaking when it matters. Rebecca felt hope and terror mixing in her chest, the hope that this might actually work, the terror that she might fail at this too, like she'd failed at everything else. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "I'll start tomorrow morning." And Patricia smiled because she knew that decision was the hardest part already done. The next morning, Wednesday, March 8th, Rebecca sat at her kitchen table with a new notebook, her hand shaking slightly as she wrote her first daily discomfort challenge. Today's discomfort: make eye contact with my manager David and say good morning with a smile instead of looking down and rushing past his office like I usually do. It felt ridiculous writing it down, something so small and simple that most people did without thinking. But Rebecca's heart was already racing, just imagining it happening. At 8:45, she walked past David's office, forced herself to stop, look directly at him and say, "Good morning, David," with what she hoped resembled a normal human smile. He looked up, slightly surprised because Rebecca usually avoided interaction, and said, "Morning, Rebecca. How are you today?" And she managed to say, "Good, thanks," before her courage ran out. She walked to her desk, feeling her heart pounding, her face flushed, her hands trembling, but also feeling something else, a tiny spark of accomplishment that she'd actually done it. That evening, she wrote in her journal, "Fear level before, 7 out of 10. Reality during, awkward but survivable. Relief after, surprised I didn't die. He just smiled back." Day 2. Ask my colleague James one question about the project he mentioned yesterday instead of just nodding silently and pretending I understand everything he said. Day 3. Contribute one sentence in the team meeting, even if it's just agreeing with someone else's point. Just make my voice heard in that room for once. The first week was agony. Every single day felt like climbing a mountain. Her anxiety was constant. Her sleep was disrupted by dreams of humiliation and failure. She wanted to quit on day 4 when she stumbled over her words in the meeting and felt everyone's eyes on her, judging her incompetence and awkwardness. But she remembered Patricia's words about doing it for 90 consecutive days, and she forced herself to continue, to choose her daily discomfort each morning, despite the dread. By day 12, something unexpected happened. Rebecca arrived at work and realized she'd forgotten to feel anxious about her daily discomfort until she actually started doing it. The fear was still there when the moment came, but it no longer consumed her entire morning, no longer colored every interaction with dread and anticipation of failure. Week 3, Rebecca's discomforts became more substantial. Asking a clarifying question in the Monday strategy meeting, sharing a brief opinion on a proposal, sending a direct message to her manager. On day 27, something shifted inside Rebecca's nervous system, rewired by repetition and survived discomfort, no longer treating social interaction as a mortal threat to her existence. She was in the weekly strategy meeting when David asked for thoughts on a new campaign approach, and Rebecca felt her usual fear rising, her throat tightening. But this time, instead of the fear winning automatically like it had for years, she felt something else underneath it, a small voice saying, "You've done this 26 times and survived." She took a breath, raised her hand slightly, and when David nodded at her, she spoke, her voice shaky but audible, sharing the idea she'd been holding for 3 weeks. The room went quiet, not because her idea was bad, but because many of them had never heard Rebecca speak more than 5 words in a meeting before this moment. Then David leaned forward and said, "That's actually really smart, Rebecca. Can you elaborate on the data analysis part?" And she did, speaking for 90 seconds straight without dying. When the meeting ended, 2 colleagues approached her separately to say they loved her idea and wanted to discuss it further, and Rebecca walked back to her desk, feeling like she'd crossed a border. Month 2 brought compound effects Rebecca hadn't anticipated. As she became more visible, people started asking for her input, including her in conversations, remembering she existed and had valuable things to say. Her manager, David, scheduled a one-on-one and told her he'd noticed a significant change in her engagement and wanted to give her a larger role on an upcoming high-visibility project. Month 3. Rebecca was not just speaking in meetings, she was preparing talking points beforehand, volunteering to present sections of reports, even disagreeing respectfully when she thought something wouldn't work. The final week of her 90 days, the company announced the restructuring decisions, and Rebecca's name was not on the list of people being let go. Instead, she was promoted. When she met Patricia for coffee to share the news, holding her journal filled with 90 days of documented discomfort and growth, Patricia hugged her with genuine pride and knowing satisfaction. "You did the work," Patricia said simply. "Most people quit after 2 weeks when it's still hard. But you kept showing up when it was uncomfortable, and that's what changed everything." 1 year later, Rebecca leads her own team, speaks confidently in executive meetings, and mentors other young professionals who struggle with the same invisible prison she once lived in. Every morning she still writes in her journal, still chooses one small discomfort to keep her growth edge sharp, because she knows courage is not a destination, it's a daily practice. My friend, Rebecca's story reveals a truth most people never learn. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It's a result of action repeated until it becomes natural instead of terrifying. Here's what most people don't understand about fear. It doesn't go away because you think positive thoughts or wait until you feel ready. It goes away because you act despite it. Every time you choose discomfort over comfort, speak when you want to hide, raise your hand when you want to disappear, you're building a new neural pathway in your brain. And after enough repetitions, that new pathway becomes the default. And what once felt impossible becomes simply who you are now, not because you conquered fear, but because you outlasted it. So here's your challenge. Starting tomorrow morning, commit to 90 consecutive days of the Daily Discomfort Practice and watch your life transform from the inside out like Rebecca's did. Step 1. Tonight before bed, buy a small notebook that will become your discomfort journal, your evidence that you're building a different version of yourself, one scary day at a time. Step 2. Tomorrow morning before you do anything else, write down one specific uncomfortable action you'll take that day, something that scares you but won't kill you, something involving human interaction. Step 3. Before tomorrow ends, do that uncomfortable thing, then immediately write down how it felt, the fear you imagined versus the reality you experienced, building evidence that you can survive discomfort. If you're ready to stop living small, to stop watching opportunities go to people who simply speak up while you stay silent. Hit that like button right now as your commitment. Then drop a comment telling me what uncomfortable thing you're going to do tomorrow. Make it public, make it real, and let this community hold you accountable to becoming who you're meant to be. Share this video with someone who has brilliant ideas trapped inside them. Someone who needs permission to be uncomfortable for 90 days so they can be powerful for the rest of their life. Remember, Rebecca's transformation didn't start when she felt confident. It started when she wrote down, "Make eye contact and say good morning," and did it even though her hands were shaking. Your voice matters, your ideas matter, your contributions matter. But the world can't benefit from them if you keep them locked inside where it's safe, but empty and suffocating. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, ask yourself the same question Rebecca asked. How many more opportunities will I let fear steal before I finally choose discomfort over regret?